Um, Thank you, everyone. My name is Sudip Hore, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Sridhar reached out to me. I don't know why. I mean, I'm a very novice photographer. I have been doing this for the last few years, and meeting a lot of really, experts, a bunch of experts out there, full of really great photographers out here in this region. And I'm really privileged to be speaking here. Um, I have a few things that I want to share. Interrupt me if you have any questions. And as Steve mentioned, we can also take some questions towards the end. I don't have a lot of content. So if there are questions, we definitely have some room while we go through this to take any questions you all may have. All right. So what I wanted to talk about is a little bit of the journey that I have been through. I'll talk briefly about how it all started for me. Go through a few of my favorite photos that I've taken, mostly from this area. But I've also done, some photography outside of United States, not in a tour or any kind of setting. It's mostly when I'm traveling with family. Have had a few opportunities, so I'll share a few of those photos. But what I wanted to really focus on is, just to share with you all what kind of subjects and birds, I love to photograph, and where do I generally photograph and why. And then I have a few learnings. Um, I've had a few learnings along the way, and I have some suggestions that may be of use to some of you. I know a lot of you here are really experts, but I thought I'll share some of these may be useful to some of you, right? And then we can also take some questions at the end if you have any. All right. And Steve, just remind me of the time a little bit. Like I've put this on full screen, so I can't, see the clock. So if I'm running, fast or slow, just, let me know. All right.
Okay, we have as much time as you want, so
Thank
take
you.
your time.
Thank you. So all of this actually started for me around middle of 2021. And a few things kind of, came together. At that time, I think, as far as I recall, the pandemic was still going on. But personally, all of a sudden, I was going through some health issues as well, right? And I still remember that, I was in India for some work, office work. And then, after I came back to US, I actually had to go through some changes in my daily habits and all kinds of stuff. And then because of the pandemic, we were not going to work as much. So I really was at that time looking for something more to do, since I had some extra time, because we were not commuting. I wanted to learn something new, and also wanted to do something that's really easily accessible. I didn't want to spend time traveling too much, or going to like a formal setting kind of thing. I wanted to do something that's really accessible. And as I was looking at stuff, I didn't have much of uh, gear or anything in or equipment or anything, cameras and all of that. In fact, this is not even the camera I had at that time. I had, if I recall, probably an earlier version of Canon, and I also didn't have this kind of a lens. I think what I had was, one of those usual, like 50 millimeter, and then I think there was like I think something at the most it was like 200 millimeter. And but what happened is, while I was, taking a stroll around my house. And it was not even a proper park. It was like almost like a small green patch. I started seeing some birds in that green patch, right? And that is how it all started. And I initially started watching those, didn't even have my camera with me, and then I tried to take a few photos with the camera and lens I had at that time. And um, and um, and and started getting interested in this thing. Soon after, I decided to, look at, what equipments are out there, and then I ended up buying, this body and the lens that's shown here. And on the right here is one of the first photos I took back then. And it was just, again, like, there are these plants I think the city had put in, and they had these like wooden stumps to support the plant, and there was this bluebird sitting on it. Um, and once I took this photo, and then at that time, I really didn't know much about like processing or any noise reduction or any of that. I just love the subject and the bird and all of that, and got lot interested. And the interest kind of climbed really fast within the span of very few months. Um, and then, I started looking around, digging more into this, and then started going to, mostly the local parks that we have around the place I live. I live in around the East Bay in Pleasanton. So we have a park nearby. It's called the Shadow Cliff. And then I also started to visit some parks in Fremont and those nearby places. And in the process, started learning about these places, learning about the habitat, the birds that are available in these parks. Some of these parks are really big, and it took a fair bit of time to actually understand all of these things. And then the local photographers have been very, very motivating and helpful as well, and have learned a lot from them as I started going to these neighborhood parks. Uh, so till then, my photography has mostly been around the Bay Area. And as I mentioned, um, at the beginning, I do some photography, um, when I'm traveling with family, or even for work, if I get some free time, I try to squeeze in some photography, but not much outside of the Bay Area. My focus mostly has been on birds. Occasionally, I do bump into other kinds of wildlife as I visit some of these local parks and trails. And I really love to visit the neighborhood parks and trails. And the main reason behind this is, um, my and that's kind of my mental model, that the more we visit a place, you actually tend to learn more deeply about that place, the subject, the habitats, the behaviors of the specific birds, and so on. And the more time you invest, the more opportunities you have to take some memorable photographs. Um, I am not a big, I'm not big with, running after new species or locations. I mean, I do sometimes, try to go out to see, some of these exotic species, and locations far away, but very seldom I do that. I try to focus on mostly the local parks. And I really want to thank many of the local photographers here. Um, and I've met hundreds of new people since I started photography, and all of them are actually lot more expert than me. They know about this craft a lot more, and that's where most of my learnings have come from. I do follow a few people through YouTube, and these are the two big sources of my learning so far. I haven't taken any, formal courses and so on. So, whatever you see, with regards to some of the things that I'm going to show, I just wanted to put this disclaimer on. I'm not formally trained, so there'll be lots of, flaws and faults that you can find in some of these photographs. I mostly do this for the joy of doing it. So next, I want to kind of quickly take you through a few of my personal favorite photos, just to share some things that I enjoy. Taking photos of year after year. And so in every month, I kind of have a small calendar with me that I maintain, where I diligently track a few places, and all of these are local places that I go to. And one of my most favorite birds are these cedar waxwings. And fortunately, they are there in a lot of places in the Bay Area. But near to where I live, there are a couple of places where they generally visit very regularly. And these are very small places, local parks, and they come in flocks. And mostly I've seen them trying out these berries. So at first they would come and land on trees that are much higher, and then they'd come down to eat these berries from these trees that are much shorter. So you really have a great opportunity to view some of these birds at your eye level, and make some very nice memories. So I've had luck a couple of years viewing these and taking some photographs of these waxwings. Um, Another species that is so common in our area are these geese, um, and the reason I put this photograph on is, as I was mentioning before, I really don't go after a lot of exotic species. I try to kind of take some of these common species and see if I can get them in a setting with good light, good background, and so forth, right? That is one of the things that I scout for. And I was very fortunate actually to be in a trail in San Jose where this bird was just flying out from its roosting area very close to sunset. And I somehow was managed. I managed to, basically keep the whole bird in the frame, and it turned out to be a nice memory for me. Right, very common subject, very beautiful. If you can, get them in a very nice setting. Um, I love owls. I think many of you probably do as well. A lot of owls out in our area, and finding them at times is difficult, but with good scouting, I think it's not really hard. There are a couple of parks that we have close to the place I live where there are some resident owls. These are the two species that I generally am able to track down at the right time of the year. Mostly they're available year round, but sometimes they can be harder to find based on the habitat, the time of the year, and whether if you can spot them in during their breeding season and so on, it may be a little bit easier because if they have babies, they may be going out more to get food and so forth. But I these are a couple of my personal favorites. We had an opportunity to watch a couple of these barn owls, and they're kind of hanging out together on a very low branch in one of our local trails. And on the right, we have this great horned owl, which I think is pretty common around our area. I thought I'd include a few birds that migrate to our area. I think a lot of you know about the cranes that come to visit. Um, the areas more inland, Sacramento, Lodi, and those areas. And I really enjoy going out to that area at least once or twice a year, and get to see really nice behaviors, actions, and so on. Right. And I find it very strange. I talk to a lot of my friends and family about these birds and these areas we have. Unfortunately, very few people outside of our profession even know about these areas. I think we all can do a little bit of education to kind of spread the word out. I think it's really a great privilege to be in an area where we get to observe these wonderful birds. I thought I'll also include another bird that is not really resident in our area, but comes to our area very regularly. So these are the lazuli buntings. I really love this bird. I mean, I find it amazing that they're so consistent in migrating to our area. And I find it really, this whole migration thing, find it very fascinating. I mean, some of you may be doing this for a long while, but since I'm still learning, I find it so fascinating that these small creatures can migrate thousands of miles to be in that same place year after year. And some come here to for food, some breed here, and so on. And we've been lucky for the last few years. I've been doing this, been able to spot these birds in our local parks. And they're really beautiful. Right after spring, they show up and they stay here for a few months, and then uh, they go away. So as I was mentioning, there are some opportunities I get where either I was born and brought up in India, and I still have my mom living there and a lot of friends and relatives. So I try to visit India pretty regularly. I don't get a lot of opportunity to go around for birding, but for the time I stay at my parents' house there, I go up to the roof and do some birding. So this is like a sample of the birds that I see right from the roof, and there are these trees on the side of the roof where all these birds mostly come and land on all around the roof basically. So all of these pictures are actually taken from this rooftop, right? And it's kind of very easily accessible and very predictable to see all of these species. These are just a few samples. I think there are probably at least around 20 or so species that come regularly in this area. Similarly, there is also a marshland that I visit, which is pretty close to my parents' home. It has a pretty decent habitat full of birds, and lot of kingfishers. There are other kinds of birds as well. So I included a sample just to kind of show you, this particular habitat. And these marshlands are not much different from, some of the, marshlands that we see around our area. And generally, these places tend to have a lot of, species that you can spot in the right seasons. So I've also traveled a few countries. So I included a couple of species from Australia. I was traveling with family. Australia has a lot of really nice, colorful birds. A lot of parrots, and then there are these wrens. The male one is even more beautiful. But I thought this picture of the female fairy wren really showed off the beauty well, so I included this as a sample here. right? So I didn't do any, tours on anything. I was just traveling with family and was fortunate to take a few pictures from the places that I was going through. I did visit Canada a couple years back, and that too, it was mostly a family visit. But then we were around the Alberta area, and that particular area does have some really good uh, I think many of these migrate to this area during this season. Some are resident, but many of these migrate. I was fortunate to take photographs of these owls, the great gray owl and the snowy owl. It seems that there are, few other varieties of owls around this place. It's like 4 to 5 varieties, but I was only able to take these two pictures. And then I also have some, birds that I was able to see during a short family visit when I went to Switzerland. And that place also has a lot of really exciting birds. So I included a couple of those just for reference here. And these are mostly from the urban places. I'm pretty sure, like, for those of you who may have visited there, there are probably a lot of other species available in the proper, wildlife refuges and those kinds of areas. So while I'm looking for birds, I do bump into a lot of other kinds of wildlife, and all these pictures are actually taken from in or around the Bay Area. There's a fair bit of wildlife. I thought I'll just include a sample. I don't have a huge interest in you know, in these species other than birds, but sometimes I just bump into them and take some reference shots and so on. So, but it's really good to see all of this wildlife around here. So I'll just take a quick pause and see if there are any questions before I move on to the next section. Does anyone have
Uh,
any questions?
where were the pictures from India from? Which part of India?
So this is from the eastern part of India, Calcutta.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just have to comment, that question was from Vivek Tore. And I remember, Vivek, when you gave a presentation many, many years ago, and you showed some photos from a rooftop in Delhi, I think it was.
It was exactly. That was like I call it my favorite place in the world to take pictures from
Uh,
in the rooftop in Delhi. Yeah, so it was great to see them here.
yeah, I was amazed when I saw that, like how many beautiful birds you got from that, just from a rooftop.
Cool. Anyone else has any questions? All right. I'll move on then. So I have a sample of a series of photographs here, and the reason I included this section is I wanted to kind of share the kind of photographs I like to take and where and why I you know take these photographs and every photograph has some aspects that I kind of go year after year looking for these kind of situations. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to share and also get feedback from you all. If you all have any inputs, please feel free to chime in as well as we go through this section. So, as I was saying, I mostly don't have a lot of opportunity to travel a lot. It's, mostly going to the neighborhood parks, and any kind of, trails we have. So my focus is really to get, common birds in nice kind of, settings and good light, right? Here we see a sparrow, a pretty common species, but during this time of the year, towards November, December, we have all of these berries all around us, and there are some really great opportunities to spot these birds in a really nice habitat and good light. It There are I've shared some pictures of owls before. Um, so this owl and this perch. Um, so this place is 8 miles from my house. Um, to go to this place, uh, each way we have 25 signals. Okay. Um, I have actually, I visit this trail regularly. I probably visited this trail at least 50 times to see something land on this perch. Okay. And one day, uh, after the light almost went away, there was nobody on the trail, and the trail is mostly used by people walking and jogging and so on. Um, and because there are people passing by, and this perch is right next to the trail, right? You can tell from the eyes of the owl that it's almost at the eye level, right? So I saw this owl stand, and I think this is the beauty of being persistent and try, scouting these neighborhood parks and trails. There are all these really nice birds out in the local trails that you can get really you know uh, take great pictures if you are patient and persistent enough. um, this is also another very common subject, and I'm pretty sure all of you see these egrets all around the Bay Area. This is taken from one of the parks right next to where I live. It's the Shadow Cliff in Pleasanton. But in this park, there are a couple of ponds where, if you can go at the right time, you can see the water really light up and provide you some unique opportunities. And I enjoy, trying to, and this doesn't happen every day. Kind of have to go out and the sun and the clouds and everything has to line up, and you have to have the subject as well, right? So, but again, if you are persistent enough, scout some of these places, I think you can make some really great memories close to your homes. There are also some very uncommon subjects that visit our local parks. So this is a golden eagle. I think this was taken in Coyote Hills. And I haven't seen many of these. I mean, I know there are some places where you can see these birds regularly, but I'm always looking for opportunities where I can get some of these subjects close enough. And we were able to spot this one a couple of years back, and it was a fantastic experience to observe this bird from so close. Here's another thing that I look for. I mean, ducks are almost everywhere in our area. But depending on where they are, the water they are in, the habitat, and all of that, sometimes they end up creating really unusual, scenes to watch. And you don't get to see these things very often. When I was taking this picture, it was actually raining, and I think if you look closely, you can see some raindrops also on this particular duck. But it was I don't know what are these called. These are like some kind of weed kind of stuff. Pond was totally filled with these and created like such a beautiful scene. It was like well worth waiting out in the rain to take this photo. Um, and then there is there's always a lot of action going on. And this was one of um, the photos I taken very early on in my photography journey. Um, so I was out in this park, and this was again taken in Shadow Cliff in Pleasanton. So I was out there in that park, and it wasn't, the light wasn't really great. There were not many people in the park. But I thought, I'd still go around and see if anything is happening. There was, no other photographer there at that time, right? And then all of a sudden, there are these northern flickers, and they are there in that park in probably their resident. I'm not sure, but I've seen them a lot of times. But there was this a pair of flickers. They were like going all over these trees, and on the background I think because of the time of the year, the leaves were also changing colors, right? And so I was somehow able to like put this one in frame, and it turned out to be a really great memory of this bird. Just seems to be enjoying the October weather here. So in the following slides, I know a lot of you have a lot more experience than me, but I thought I'll still, share some suggestions, and these are very basic, may not, have much value to you, but I thought I'll just put this together as things that I've learned along the way. Generally, and this is a very common thing where to make the subject stand out, you want to kind of consider the distance between in yourself and the subject, and the separation the subject has from the background, right? And the more that you can optimize for this, sometimes you can really get an outstanding picture based on where the subject is in this whole scheme of things, right? And I know sometimes this isn't easy, particularly when we are talking about birds. A lot of these birds are extremely shy, and it's really hard to get close. But wherever possible, I do try to get close. And then if I cannot get close, then another option is to frame the subject with the habitat. And that's another kind of picture which a lot of people seems to enjoy these days, where you not only see the bird, but you get a feeling of the habitat, right? So if it's impossible to get close, this is a great option. And sometimes the zoom lenses also give you that flexibility to do both. You can even try both of those options out. So this is again, something from my observation. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is like a simple setting where on the top here on the right hand side, you have kind of a trail that's at an elevated position. And then on the down here on the left side, you have another trail where it's also for walking. And by the way, this is, probably a common setting in some of the local parks. Actually, I see this setting in one of the parks I visit near to the place I live. And my default uh, route is to stay on this top here on the right. And the reason is you really have a great opportunity when you are going along this trail to get birds at a really great vantage point, rather than standing down here on the left and pointing up at the trees, right? I'm not saying those can't make good photos, but your opportunities to make great photos if you are at a better vantage point is much more, right? And so whenever I'm at this park or any other park, I'm looking for these kind of opportunities to be at a position where I can get the bird close to my eye level. And then there are these other kind of situations where um, you generally would benefit from kind of lying down low, or at least going down a little bit, particularly if you are photographing water birds or shorebirds. Again, this is a picture from our neighborhood park here. um, and um, and generally when I'm here, I try to you know, get down a little bit low to see if we can get a good view of the bird. Um, and again, some of the suggestions are very, very, uh, common, but a lot of times I'm out there and I just, come back without taking any picture because the light isn't great. And it's so important to really, make sure that you have great light. And, this is, I'm pretty sure all of you have seen this around um, our area. And we had this opportunity to see these grebes. Some had babies on them. And one day there was this opportunity to, get this particular grebe up close, and then there was this, light coming from the side, hitting the eye, and it just ended up being a really great memory. When I looked at the picture, it was really great to see all of the details, and the intensity of the stare. I mean, I was probably not even looking carefully when I was looking at the viewfinder, but just looking at the intensity of the eyes, it's really amazing. Sometimes uh, less light could also be interesting. And a lot of times we see, these owls, they're not out until, very late in the day. And we have had a few of these occasions where, um, these barn owls would come out, but they're so late. But even in these late conditions, if you have some kind of backlighting, so what you see on the back of this picture are neighborhood houses with their lights on, right? And just using that light, it could create some interesting photographs. So there's no bird in this picture. Okay, so this is um, taken in again in one of our neighborhood parks, and I go there, in this park almost, at least once a month, if not more. I think it is probably more than once a month. And then there is this, setting in this park where, there are, these trees, and there is this fallen branch in the middle. And I hope every day uh, some bird, preferably a bigger one, lands on this perch. It's so beautiful. I mean, like if you watch the whole setting here, and also this was taken at the time when the leaves were changing colors. It's even more beautiful. But in the 40 years I have been doing this, and I spotted this very early in my photographic career. Uh, I haven't seen a bird land on this. Uh, but I'm still very patient and persistent, and I'm always hopeful that someday a nice bird will land on here, and it will make for a really great memory, right? And a lot of these situations are such that you go to places that uh, advise you all to be patient and persistent, and that gives outstanding results in the long run. So I think this is the last slide. I thought I'd also share a few things that keeps me going. As I said at the beginning, I think this is a very uh, really unique opportunity to learn every day, and it's a totally new subject to me. And every day I learn from a lot of you, because as I said, I haven't taken any formal courses or anything. So is that learning opportunity I cherish. I also have started to talk to children and kids about local wildlife and photography. I've had some opportunities to speak at my daughter's school, and other kinds of places where I go in and talk to them, and a lot of them enjoy learning about local birds and wildlife. And I also partner with local organizations to raise awareness. Some of these organizations have reached out to me, asking for pictures to share in their awareness campaigns, newsletters, and so on. So I try and do some of these things as much as possible. Um, when I have time, some people reach out to me, particularly, I have a pretty good network in Instagram, um, and visitors who are coming here, and they don't know much about the local parks and refuges and so on. So I enjoy taking them out here. Again, I'm a novice. I just show them what I know, A lot of these people are, you know, sometimes sometimes they come here and they can't even drive, right? So I just pick them up and show them around. So it's really exciting. And in the process, I also get to know them and learn about the places they come from. And if I have an opportunity in the future, hopefully I can meet them at their place, and see what kind of species exist there. My day job is actually something very different, but it's somewhat similar. I am a product manager by profession. But what I tell people is, making a photo is very similar to making a product. But the big difference is, in photography, I am the boss, and I get to make the decisions. I get to make the priority calls. I get to make all of the things that are needed to make a good photo, right? I don't have anybody to tell me what to build. I don't have a boss to report to. So that's why in many ways, I like this much more than my day job. And then I think the most important thing that I'd end with is, birds are magnificent creatures. I know very little about them, but from that little knowledge that I've gathered, um, they're intelligent, but they also need our help to kind of thrive. And I feel that no effort to advance this cause is insignificant. So, all of you who are doing this, sharing the knowledge, involved in conservation efforts or other kinds of efforts, I really want to thank you all. And also thank you for, I know, I probably know some of you, met some of you. Thank you for all the knowledge and tips and everything that you shared with me along the way.